All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to our Western Australian viewers. My name is Harry Marr. I'm an investment manager here at Sharewise. Today, we're very fortunate to be joined by Justin Virgin, Executive Director at Minerals, who will be presenting for us today. As usual, everyone, if you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A box. We'll have some time at the end of the webinar for questions. And this webinar is recorded as always. So if you can't view the whole live viewing, then of course it'll be accessible on our YouTube channel. So Justin, a good morning for you. Good afternoon from my end. How are you?
Yeah, good, Harry. Thanks for having us today.
No dramas, no dramas. Now, if you'd like to share your screen now, you've got the green share button at the bottom. Yeah, perfect. All right, ready to go.
So, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for everyone listening today. Terrain Minerals is a West Australian-based exploration company. We are very active. We've spent a fair bit of time putting a nice group of packages together. Most of them are new to the company, so there's a lot of exciting news just about roll out. It takes a lot of time to get these things together. So our investment sweep at the moment is gallium, gold, nickel, copper. That's the standard disclaimers, competent person statements. So Terrain Minerals, it's around page 4. All our projects are in Tier 1 jurisdictions in WA and Queensland. Our main focus is on 2 granted tenements, and there are 3 commodities, which I've just mentioned. Terrains, look, we're trying to give exposure to early stage opportunities that offer some real big potential. This is high risk exploration, but it's also very high reward, which is the exciting part. And, you know, it can make a big difference going forward, and all of our commodities will help with energy transition and improving, you know, your living standards, basically. So we need these commodities to grow. Our main projects is our Smokebush project. There are 2 parts of that. There's Larin's Lane, which is gallium, and I'll talk about that a bit later, but gallium mineralization seems to be sitting between 9 to up to 3 kilometers, so it's a big open area. We're currently working on a JORC exploration target. I was working on it yesterday. It's getting close, so watch out for that. And we've also just drilled 1,700 meters to 71 holes air core at Wildflower and Cotter, which are at Smokebush, but Larin Lane, where the gallium is slightly in a different area. And well, I just paid for drilling yesterday as well, so they're not far away. So I haven't seen them, so let's see what they come in at. Our Lort River project, which is the big ticket item and I guess the big reward project for the company at this stage. We've identified 5 bedrock conductors from a VTEM survey. We've flown with a helicopter. 2 of those conductors are on the edge of an intrusive unit, and 1 is on the outside. It's similar to the Nova Bollinger discovery about 300 to 400 k's up the road in the Albany-Fraser Belt. Southern Geoscience confirmed the eye feature is an intrusive unit, and that's pretty exciting because we're in the Albany-Fraser Belt, so it's potentially the second one found. We've got a pipeline of projects, copper gold in Queensland, some lithium up in the Pilbara. So we're excited about them, and it just takes time to get things granted these days. So that's why you need some other projects to slowly move on to. And these pretty prized bits of land that we've been very lucky to pick up, and it just takes a bit of time to get them. The company, we got 1.8 billion shares in issue. People might say that's a lot, but 86% of our register is in the top 200 shareholders. So it's reasonably tight. And I think if you look at the 94% of the registers in the top 300, there's a lot of duplication there. So it's reasonably tight. All the options are with board or management. There is no free shares in the company. Market cap's at 5.3 million. Cash hands about 1.1 in the quarterly, and share price about 0.3 to 0.4. So top 20 is 40%. The board is myself. I have a stockbroking mining background. Jason McDonald is also a corporate lawyer here in Perth, or was, and is also ex-stockbroker. And Johannes Lynn, who's a Singaporean-based businessman, about 8,000 employees last I heard. So he's pretty busy, and we're lucky to have him. So you can see on the right-hand side where our projects are sitting. See that Smokebush is just near Geraldton. Lort River is down near the town of Esperance. They are 2 main ones that we're working up at the moment. And then we got the Clindy project up in the Pilbara and the Billa in Queensland, which I'll talk to at the end. So Smokebush is 350 kilometres north of Perth, sealed road most of the way, just down from Golden Grove, if you know where that is. We've got some very exciting targets there. We've proven gallium in oxide or in clays from surface in most places over a very large area, and there's a lot of mining infrastructure. We stay at a neighbouring camp at New Warrada. We eat at Golden Grove, but everyone gets on pretty well. So there's a lot of good infrastructure there, good roads, so it's a nice place to work. As you can see, our gallium project. So if you look on the little map on the right-hand side and also the blue diagram at the bottom, you can see where Larin's lane sits. You sort of got two granites have been pushing, and there's a big valley, I guess, or a big laneway, which is about 9 k's by potentially 3 k's. We believe it's predominantly all the same. We're there looking for something else, some polymetallics. Didn't find it. We're already on the gallium bandwagon because down to Esperance. And you can see the areas we've drilled intensely. That's probably where the main areas of the JORC exploration target, when we release it, will be on. But you can see there's drilling all over it, scattered. So we sort of a rough idea that it all looks the same. So this is potentially very big. 70% of holes returned, pretty impressive intersections of gallium, up to 64 metres wide, up to almost 54 grams a tonne, or ppm, it's the same. Gallium is a metal, and this is sitting in an oxide, like a sand or a clay. JORC compliant resource, or JORC compliant exploration target, sorry, I'll correct myself there, which will then be the next step, to move into a proper JORC compliant resource. But that's some way down the track. But we're putting a strategy together. When we release it, you'll see this is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. So we're actually building up and moving towards that. We're in ongoing discussions. This is a sort of project. Gallium is a non-LME or London Metal Exchange market. Sales are all business to business or B2B. So it's opaque market, and we probably will need some help or to join up with an end user to bring it forward. But it's very exciting. There are no other gallium mines or gallium only mines in the world, to my knowledge, and gallium typically comes from red mubs, from bauxite, which they struggle with recoveries, and China controls 98%, and there's the opportunity. So what is gallium? Gallium is a critical mineral. US, United Kingdom, Japan, basically the Western world, it's a critical mineral. China has 98% of it. Its main applications are semiconductors, computer chips, electronic circuitry, and in photovoltaics. So a patent dropped off, I think, 3 years ago. If you look at the solar cells, they are now made out of gallium, where they used to be metal, and they'd corrode, and they'd last about 10 years. So gallium panels last a lot longer. And I think about 80% of panels out of China now have gallium because the patent's gone. We're focusing on gallium because we could just see that generative AI, quantum computing, none of it works without gallium chips. So everything is moving that way. Core centers, gallium basically allows computer chips and components to switch faster at a lower voltage and operate at higher temperatures. So you get less, you can make smaller items. Core, like a data center, you could have like 30% less land footprint, 30% less power draw, because everything's much quicker. So, missiles, radars, 5th generation fighter planes, the whole military complex stops. All our AI, quantum computing stops without gallium. So very critical. And with China controlling 98% of it, with putting in more restrictions, it's a good place to be. So we'll move on to our Smokebush still. Basically, our Wildflower project. We've got some gold drilling we've just done there. Results are due imminently. I haven't seen them yet, so I don't know if there's anything there. But basically, we're following up on a kilometre by 500 metre in gold in soil anomaly, up to 245 ppm. It's had a couple of holes in it, but very shallow auger. But there was 15 metres at 1.49 grams a tonne from 10 metres down, just been sitting there left, never looked at, and cod is the same. So we've just done a few air core fences across it, and just to see what's there. There's potentially, could be some exciting gold news coming. And we've also got our Monza and Wildflower, as you can see on the diagram. We've got a couple of structures there with gold in it. That needs a little bit more work. We'll just see if we can prove up the Wildflower and the Cotter targets before we roll an RC rig in there. and do additional testing. So we've got a bit of a gold story developing as well at Larin's Lane, but it's up the other end of the project, and the geology sits a bit different to the north, to the south, and also down towards Larin's Lane. So a bit of a timetable there. Q3 stuff has obviously all been done. Q4 is rolling out now, and we're excited there'll be some more news in the market over the next few weeks, both on the gallium and on the gold, hopefully. So our Lort River project, we're originally down there for rare earth and gallium, but we're getting better grades of gallium up at Larin's Lane. We've got 650 square kilometres. We're about 50 k's northwest out of the town of Esperance. So if you just don't know Esperance, Esperance got a port. A lot of the minerals from the Kalgoorlie and the mining belt comes out of there. A lot of grain comes out of there. It's pretty well self-sufficient in the town. There's flights from Perth daily. There's rail. It's a nice little place. I was down there last week speaking to farmers, organising land permission to get on their ground. So we're on the Albany-Fraser belt. All our tenure is on farming land, and we're pretty excited. So it's nickel, gallium. We're probably not chasing there at the moment, and also potential some copper. So if you look at the two pictures on the right-hand side, the bottom one is Nova Bollinger. That's in a different resolution because they didn't fly VTEM, but we did. We flew a helicopter VTEM over ours, and you can see on our one at the top, around the edge there, we've actually got an intrusive unit. So it's a volcano that hasn't made it to surface and hopefully brought up the goodies from the Earth's core, which would be nickel and copper, etc. And the fact it hasn't popped out and pushed all that stuff out, it should be sitting there in situ. The bedrock conductors we've picked up are sulfide conductors, and that's the exciting thing. The big question is, are they mineralized like Nova Bollinger, which is up the road, or are they not? So these are big prizes if they come in, and we've got two sitting right on targets 1 and 2. You can see they're sitting on the lip. That's exactly where you want to see them, where the Nova Bollinger ones are. Target 3 is a little bit on the outside, but still very interesting. And on the next page, you'll see where the other ones are sitting. So, Nova Bollinger is now Albany-Fraser belt. We know that they were purchased for $1.8 billion by Independence Group. Very profitable mine still. It runs out in 3 years. There's just no more ore there. Nickel was 8,700 at the time. We got 16,000 a ton. I think it was 19 last I looked. So nickel prices changed. There's a few nickel mines shut down in WA, mainly because they're end of life, been mining for 60, 70 years, or they're a low grade style like Mount Keith, which is a different ore body altogether. These things are high grade, like pods, I guess, of nickel, copper, cobalt is what they're mining at Nova Bollinger. So this is meant to be a part of a province. No one's found one yet. There's been tens of millions, I'd say a lot more spent in the northern part of the belt. If you can see where Lort River is on the map on the bottom, see where Nova is, up at Tropicana, that's the Albany-Fraser belt. There's a lot of money being spent in the northern belt, but not much in the southern belt, just sitting on farming land. And I guess that's been our opportunity. You can see on the right-hand diagram, the other two targets and where it sort of sits. You can sort of see a bit of an eye feature in the middle forming up there with a bit missing. That's just bent rocks. That's not a volcanic unit. So the key thing here is these intrusive units, and there's lots of them around the world, are these volcanoes that haven't popped out. So our VTEM survey was very successful. It's a bit of a leap of faith for the junior. We're 300 k's down from Nova Bollinger. If you look at the Thompson Belt in Canada, every 300 to 600 k's is another intrusive unit, and there's a high-grade mine. So that model fits perfectly. We believe the rocks are the same sort of rocks. So this is exciting exploration. We'll be doing ground EM probably December at this stage. I'd love to be drilling in December, but I think we might be pushing a bit with everyone wanting a Christmas break, which is fine because I want one too. And then we've got a little bit of drilling. I've spoken to a couple of drillers 2 days ago. I think, they want a job to start with. So probably, first, second week of January, we'd be down there putting holes in, which is perfect. The crops are off, and it's very exciting. Nova Bollinger, if you look at their market cap, I remember watching it when they made the discovery. They went from a 5 million market cap, similar to us, to 500 million within 6 months, and a big takeover, and a very profitable mine. Look at a 30-year chart of nickel at the moment. Nickel is in the doldrums, and the Indonesian nickel curtails in about 2028, and there's a lot of environmental issues the Indonesian government's getting a bit scared of. That's happening in their country with a lot of, not very good mining practices. Our forward statement, I sort of just said, already our land access, we're getting under control now, ground EM December, and drilling hopefully late December, early January. And this could potentially be a game changer for terrain. And I think, it's worth squirreling a few away at this stage, just for that one, let alone our other stuff that we've got going on. So in summary, shareholders, you've got a gallium exploration target coming. You've got gold results from Wildflower and Cotter not far away. I haven't seen them, so I don't know what they're going to be like, but they're around some pretty nice intersections. We've got our Lort River nickel, IEM and drilling, which are potentially big company maker type of target if they come in. And we've got a pipeline of targets. So I'll just jump through the pipeline. Now, with heritage and delays to get things granted these days, it takes up to a couple of years to get a project granted, time you work through objections and sort of lots of stuff. So we just thought it was important to have some projects that we can move on to. We took a view on copper gold 2 years ago. We've pegged this ground here in Queensland. We've got 2,500 square kilometres. There's 10 mineral occurrences across there. There's 7 great walk-up targets, basically VMS copper, epithermal gold, mineralisation, potentially porphyry stuff. So if you have a look in here, this is an exceptional package. Been locked up in 2 juniors for 15 years. There's no work done because they made discoveries elsewhere. This isn't far away from coming online. I'd like to have it all stitched up and granted in the new year. There is a lot of interest in this. You can see the big copper in stream sediment sample down there. And I've been up the top. There's basically, we put a release out just highlighting it. But there's 9 chip rock chips, copper, 2%, 2 gram gold, 9% copper. There's copper hanging out of the ground, which does happen in Queensland a fair bit. But there's something going on there. So it's exciting to look forward to. And our Kalindi project up in the Pilbara, we've got 1,200 square Ks, another ASX company sort of sat on these applications, had issues getting them granted for about 9 years. A lot of land missed the whole boom up there with the lithium. We're next to Wildcat and Bolt Cutter. You can sort of see on this page here where we located. We believe there's been 3 big units up there that have been juiced up at the same time, and we're sitting on one of them. And all this stuff's undercover, not looked at, 3 to 4 metres. We believe we've had a bit of a walk around. So that's up not far away. There are 9 objections. We're down to the last 1 or 2 that we're working through. But I see no hindrances, no reason why these won't be granted very shortly. So that's the train story. So we've got a lot rolling out over the next few months, a lot of results, a lot of news, and we've got a couple of very exciting big projects coming to play. So and I'm always here if anyone wants to reach out an email or a phone call, always happy to have a chat, or you can give Harry a call.
Perfect, Justin. Thank you very much. Very insightful, and obviously sounds like there's a lot to look forward to as shareholders. You've got the Gallium project, the Wildflower, and the Lort River project, and then obviously the pipeline of gold in Queensland and lithium in the Pilbara. Now we've got some questions that were put forward prior to the webinar. I'm sure we'll have some Q&A questions as we go along as well. Now I feel like you touched on this already, but we had one registrant say, similar to the IGO's Nova Bollinger mine, is the Lort River I target an intrusive unit target, or could you just go into a bit more depth on that?
Yeah, look, that's exactly the same. Another one in Canada, Voisey's Bay, and so there's a few on the Thompson Belt as well, plus the Nova Bollinger just up the road. They're all on intrusive units, and that's the key thing. People have been peddling eye features, which are potentially just bent rocks. What you need is a volcano that hasn't made it to surface, and that's an intrusive unit. And that's the key difference here. And that's why these sulfide, high-grade, juicy ore bodies are sitting in them, because they've dragged up from the Earth's core. And that's the exciting thing. And I guess the opportunity that this highlights for us, because it is an intrusive unit, potentially the second one on the belt ever found, and it fits into that Canadian model perfectly.
Yep, perfect. And next question on the gallium project. So obviously it seems like a very strategic commodity. You mentioned China has about 98% control. What are the next steps for that project? And I think tied with another question, should shareholders expect a liquidity event and a bit of a cash injection for whoever takes up, the gallium when it comes to that stage as well?
Well, that's probably what we're working towards. So the next step would be the JORC exploration target, which we're working on as we speak. It's not far away. Which is going to set a bit of a template or a base case for where we are. We're a bit limited in what we can say because of the nature of JORC, which is fine. I think we've said to protect investors. So let's see how that rolls out, but it's not far away. Once we do that, then we are talking to people at the moment about helping to bring this forward. It'll need a little bit more drilling. I think any sort of deal that we did would have some cash in it, and obviously they'd be spending the money to do sort of earn in. So that's the sort of deal we're looking for, and we're currently discussing. So so it's exciting. It's a commodity that is needed, and the world industry sort of shuts off if China turned off. There's about 6 months supply of gallium at the moment, so floating out there.
On the granting of projects, so are there any barriers to the current 3 projects that will, I guess, resist their ability to be granted? Are any of them close to being granted? What does that look like?
The Pilbara one, we're not far away, I believe. There's a couple little niggly bits that we're negotiating. I don't see anything too, we've worked through 9 objections. There's a couple of things we're just working on at the moment, discussing, but I don't see there's any major issues. I think the Pilbara will be granted shortly. And the Queensland one, once again, that's rolling through some of the government box ticking side of things at the moment. So that's very close to all being granted. And I'd like to think so in the new year, but there's just regulatory things that just need to happen. And
of course
we can't speed it up. It's just we're on the wagon and we're just waiting to get to the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think my final question for you personally, as an executive director, what excites you the most, I guess, from the perspective of a shareholder and from the perspective of the business, in terms of the pipeline, what's coming up? What do you think is the most exciting to come? What's still to come that's most exciting?
Look, I'm a bit of a gold bull. I love gold drilling, and the gallium's exciting. But I guess for us, the Lort River project and those bedrock conductors or sulfide conductors that we're having said, that's what excites me. This is the sort of exploration that 1 or 2 holes can turn the company's fortunes around and our shareholders. So if it's basically a rocket ship and you've strapped yourself down and those holes come in, you go to the moon and beyond. This is the share price really has potential to rise, but it's high risk, it's high reward exploration. But for me, the Lort River looks like a cracker. We do need to do a little bit more work, and we're just not going to know until we put some drill holes into them. There are other projects. I do like the Queensland. I think the fact that there's potential for big gold, big copper there, that's also very exciting. And I think that's probably a sweet spot for the market at the moment, the copper gold. So
perfect. Well, absolutely. Well, I look forward to seeing how it all progresses. Thank you again, Justin, for your time today, and thanks for the presentation. And thanks to all of our participants, attendees, and for all the questions that we've had and been able to discuss today. Until next time, Justin, we'll have to get you on for another webinar in the future and see how it all progresses.
Yeah, thank you very much, Harry, and thanks Sharewise for the opportunity. And you'd love to come back one day.
Yeah, perfect. Cheers.